In a world where fire is meant to be linked, where kingdoms rise and fall in the name of flame, there are those who choose something else. Not power, not glory, not even survival, but rot. Hidden away within the painted world of Ariandel lies a woman who turned her back on everything, her duty, her kin, and the very cycle itself. A woman who abandoned the flame and embraced decay. This is the story of Sister Friede. To understand Friede, we first need to understand where she came from. Friede was not always the cold, silent figure we encounter in Ariandel. She was once one of 3 sisters who led the Sable Church of Londor. Alongside Yuria and Liliane, Friede was a founder, a guiding force behind a church that did not worship the fire, but instead sought to end its tyranny. The Sable Church existed for one purpose: to bring about the Age of Dark. Unlike the gods, who desperately prolonged the Age of Fire, the Sable Church embraced humanity's true nature. They believed the fire was unnatural, a fleeting age forced upon the world. And Friede? She was one of its most important figures. Not a follower, a leader, which makes what she does next even more significant. At some point, Friede abandoned Londor. She left behind her sisters. She left behind her mission. She left behind the Age of Dark. But why? That's the mystery. Friede didn't leave to pursue power, or even the flame. She left because she rejected everything, the fire and the dark. Instead, she sought something entirely different, an escape from the cycle itself. And that escape was the Painted World. The Painted World is not just a location. It's a refuge, a place for those who don't belong, a sanctuary for the forgotten, the rejected, and the broken. But it is not meant to last forever. Painted worlds are meant to rot, to decay, and eventually be burned away so a new one can take its place. That is the natural order. But when Friede arrived, she changed that. She met Father Ariandel and convinced him of something dangerous, that the world should not burn, that it should remain forever. And so, instead of allowing the world to follow its natural cycle, Friede chose stagnation. The painted world of Ariandel began to rot. Not metaphorically, literally. Decay spread through the land. Creatures twisted and warped. Everything became trapped in a slow, suffocating death. But Friede saw this not as a failure, but as peace. Because in rot, there is no change, no fire, no dark, no cycle, just stillness. Friede did not rule Ariandel through strength alone. She ruled through control. Father Ariandel, once a guardian of the painted world, became her puppet. Locked away in a chapel, endlessly flailing at a bowl of flame, he exists in a state of torment. And yet, he obeys her. Because Friede convinced him that fire, the very thing meant to renew their world, is something to be feared, something to be suppressed. So instead of burning the painting, he protects it, even as it rots around him. Friede is not a tyrant in the traditional sense. She doesn't seek conquest. She doesn't crave domination. She wants silence, stillness, an end to suffering, even if that means embracing decay. That's what makes her so fascinating. She isn't trying to win the game. She's refusing to play it. In a world defined by cycles, Friede is an anomaly. When the Ashen One enters Ariandel, they bring with them something Friede cannot accept: change. The Ashen One represents the continuation of the cycle, whether through linking the fire or ushering in the dark. Either way, it means the world moves forward. And Friede refuses that. So she asks you to leave. Not as a threat, but as a warning. Because if you stay, she will stop you. Friede's boss fight is one of the most iconic in the series, and not just because of its difficulty. Each phase tells a story. Phase 1. Friede fights alone, silent, precise, controlled. This is who she is at her core. Phase 2. Father Ariandel joins the battle, chaotic, violent, desperate. This represents the world she has corrupted. Phase 3. Black Flame Friede emerges. This is the most important part, because Black Flame is tied to the abyss, to darkness, to the very thing Friede abandoned. And yet, in the end, she uses it anyway. Friede tried to escape the cycle. She rejected fire. She rejected dark. She chose rot. But in doing so, she became trapped in something worse. A world that cannot die, but cannot live either. And when pushed to the brink, she falls back on the very power she once abandoned. That is her tragedy. No matter how far she runs, she cannot escape what she is. Even after her death, Friede's story echoes back to Londor, to Uria, to the Sable Church. Because Friede represents a path not taken. While Londor seeks to embrace the dark and shape a new age, Friede tried to abandon the system entirely, and failed. In the end, her story serves as a warning. There is no escape from the cycle, only different ways to face it. Sister Friede is not just a boss. She is a contradiction. A woman who rejected both light and dark, only to be consumed by something in between. A ruler of a world that should have burned. A protector of decay. A leader who chose silence over destiny. And in the end, she stands as one of the most tragic figures in all of Dark Souls. Because she didn't fight for power, she fought to make everything stop.